You are not poor due to a lack of opportunity. We're going live.
No.
We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday after Thanksgiving. I waddled my fat button here to do this show for you. How the hell are you? How was your Thanksgiving, guys? How was your Thanksgiving? Look, hey, get this. Nurse Chick's in the house here. Look at this. Good morning, chat. Happy Black Friday. That's racist. Yes, it is Black Friday. Nurse Chick and I, we went and we ran the turkey trot yesterday, the Grand Junction Turkey Trot 5K race, and we did pretty good. Nurse Chick, she's just getting into this running thing, and I told her, I said, look, I'm going to try to win this whole thing, baby. I'm going to try to win this whole damn thing. So I said, I'm not running with you. And I didn't. And I ran that sumbish. We're not at the 8-minute mark. I ran that sumbish at officially a 6-minute, 57-second pace. I think that's the fastest I've ever ran. And my Fitbit said it was 6-minute 59 pace, but they're the official, based on crossing the line, and we have our bib numbers and stuff like that. Crossing the line, that they said it was 6:57. So I'll take that. I'll take it. So we earned our turkey day yesterday. We earned our turkey day in the morning. Guys, you guys need to check out the book. So I have my son wanted me to he wanted to buy something the other day. He's like, Dad, is there something I could do for $20? Dad, I need something for $20. I said, yeah, I have an assignment for you. I want you to read my new book. I just got it. And I just got it, there's some mistakes in this one, right? Because it was the proof version. And I want you to read it. And after every chapter, I want you to give me an oral, book report on what the chapter was about. And he found another goddamn mistake like last night. I was like, oh my God. So I went through, updated that stuff, re-uploaded the manuscript to Amazon. It's like, I swear to God, when you guys get this book, even though it's been through like 4 or 5 people's eyes, there's still going to be problems with it. I swear to it. But I'm just human. Okay. I'm human. That's how it is. All right, guys, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about, I had somebody this week, someone was looking at, I had a couple of people complain about this on Facebook. They're like, oh, you lost me at the beginning of your episode because you don't just immediately start talking about your topic. And I'm like, you can fast forward, man. Like whatever. But people get upset that I'm not immediately just jumping into the topic at hand. Like join the discussion maybe a little bit. Here we go. We got some questions here. Hey, what's up? Good morning, Miles. Kamal, 3% brother Kamal. Would you rate this book above Think and Grow Rich? No, I wouldn't. Think and Grow Rich I think is better than this book because Think and Grow Rich really goes into depth on all this stuff, right? It's a much thicker book. There's a lot more involved with it and a lot more examples in that. This book is very much a bare bones, no BS book. These are the steps it takes, right? That's what I like about this book. It's just the simplicity of it. But as far as a better book, I think Think and Grow Rich is a better book. For sure. Good morning, CW. What's up, man? All right. So anyway, let's talk about this before the Facebook people start crying. So we're on chapter 3 of my series on The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, right? It's part of a trilogy, but we're only going to be talking about The Science of Getting Rich. Okay. It's classic trilogy written in 1910. So some of these concepts are pretty dated. Okay. So I'll call out some of these older concepts or some of the things that he was thinking about at the time. They might make more sense when you understand that he wrote it at the turn of the century, right? He wrote it in 1910. Like the first airplane was just invented like 7 years previously. You see what I'm saying? So some of his ideas you're like, man, that's pretty old school, but that's because it was written, a long time ago. So keep that in mind. And then like the other chapters, I'm not going to read you the book. Okay. I'm going to go chapter by chapter, just go through some of the key concepts. All right. So before we get into that, though, we're going to make the Facebook people cry. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications, guys. And guys, thank you for sounding off in the live chat today. Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, sound off in the live. That helps these shows go by much smoother. Send super chats. That helps support the show, probably more than anything else. In fact, I think we have one already. We've got Brother Nathan sent this $2 super chat. You're not at the 8-minute mark, but we'll give you this one. We'll give you this one. Let's see here. I got news for you, baby. Yeah. Nathan's the man. $2 super chat. Thank you so much, man. All right. So the first concept in chapter 3 here. Chapter 3 is basically the title of today's episode. Is opportunity monopolized, right? So he talks about an abundance of opportunities. He says opportunities are abundant and individuals are not kept poor due to a lack of chances. Even if certain paths seem closed, there are always alternative channels open for those willing to explore. So when I talk about an old idea, right? So one of the first things he says is not being able to get into the railroad business, get into the old railroad business, right? He says, at the time of this writing, railroads were still pretty big. They were still, kind of a big deal. Turn of the century, the late 1800s is really when railroads became, such a big thing. You know what I mean? And they're largely monopolized. They were largely a monopolized business at the time. But he was saying that at the time of the writing of his book, that electric railroads were just starting up. They were in their infancy. So he says, hey, look, there's an opportunity there. If you want to get to the railroad business, like you can't get into the traditional railroad business because that's saturated. The market's saturated, but you can get to the electric railroad business, right? Underground tunnels, light rail, stuff like that, subway systems. You could have gotten into something like that, got your foot in there, put in their door. And he says, he was talking about how you could potentially, he was saying, there's probably going to be an opportunity for air travel, right? It was like a novel idea at the time because airplanes had just been invented like 7 years before this book came out. So he says that, so airlines weren't a big deal yet. Wright brothers just invented the first airplane, but he talks about looking at opportunities that haven't been tapped yet, right, but are still related. So maybe not railroad transportation, but another form of transportation like air could be something you could get into, right? So you got to sort of think outside the box. What hasn't been done yet? What is something different that you could be doing? You got to kind of look at it like I think about this a lot in the podcast space because the podcast market is very saturated, is like monumentally saturated. But it's like, well, what could I do slightly different? What could I do slightly different? Right. The next concept is adaptation to change. So he says the tide of opportunity shifts and shifts with time and societal needs. Success comes to those who align themselves with current trends and changing landscapes, such as the current focus on agriculture and related industries. So at the time of this writing, there was a big agricultural boom, right? This was before the Dust Bowl. So he talks about, working for a steel mill probably won't lead you to owning the mill, but if you act in the certain way, remember this, if you guys have been following along the previous episodes about this, the certain way, if you act in the certain way, you may be led to something more lucrative, like buying a farm and producing foodstuffs. He says, foodstuffs. At the time of this writing, there was a lot of opportunity in farming. That was before the Dust Bowl, obviously. But he said, becoming a farmer in the certain way would certainly make someone rich, at least at the time of this writing. It could, right? He says, getting the farmland itself is possible if you work in the certain way. He also talks about the opportunity for businessmen who sell equipment to farmers. This is actually a good thing to think about, because like during the gold rush, it wasn't necessarily all the people that ran out and mined gold that made it rich. It was really the guys that went out and opened up hardware stores and sold the miners pickaxes and stuff. Those guys made it rich because they were selling stuff to the guys that were trying to make it rich doing this other thing. They were doing things in the certain way. He says it's important to move with the tide of opportunity or trends instead of going against it. Look at what Rollo and Mike Sartain are doing with Access Vegas right now, right? Obviously, the trend in the men's podcast space is moving away from home podcast studios and moving into studios with a table and White Claws and Hughes. Oh, we're past the 8-minute mark, and 304s. And that's what's making people big, right? You got to get yourself a table, and you got to get yourself a table full of 304s. Got to occasionally get mad at one of them and throw them off your podcast. That is the key. That is the trend right now. And Rollo and Mike are getting in on that. Obviously the trends go to panel shows and hoes. So they're hopping on that trend instead of fighting it. Now, the difference between what Rollo and Mike are doing, and what, like, say they're doing on whatever or Fresh and Fit, is they're not just getting mad at these 304s and holding them accountable. They're actually having, discussions about this stuff, right? They're having discussions about hypergamy, about evolutionary psychology. It's actually more educational. There just happens to be hoes on the show, right? So that's what they're doing differently, right? To go, for the abundance of opportunities thing, right? Rich Cooper's getting in on this game now. Have you guys noticed? He was railing. Yeah, I love Rich Cooper. I'm not trying to crap on Rich Cooper. Just something that's glaringly obvious. He was complaining earlier this year about the man swamp and how guys are bringing girls on their shows and bringing women into the space and how that's such a bad idea. And now he hosts a ladies' night himself. And just the other night, Rich Cooper threw a girl off his podcast. So guys, there's a trend here. Hey, speaking of panel shows and hoes, we got Sergio with Purple Pill Podcast. What's up, brother? Hey, we got some super chats here. CW, hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving and got fat and happy. Now get back to the gym and work it off. Damn right. You get this here. Hold on. Let's see here.
I was just going to say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
Yes, definitely fucks with that comment. And then we've got Ed with a $5 super sticker. Ed, we're going to say this one. We're going to give you, we're going to give you Elena's.
Shame this horse.
Yes, we've got to shame these horse with $5 super chat. Thank you so much. It is ironic to see from Rich, of all people. It is. I know. I need to get some 304s. You know what? So next week's podcast is Mark Singh. I don't know if you guys know who Mark Singh is. Mark Singh's going to be on Monday's episode. And then the week after that, I have, they're actually not 304s, but I've got Elena from Elena's Bars Fitness, and I've got Coco, Mrs. Producer, Glenn Lawrence's wife. They came on the show. So they're going to be on, was it the not the 27th, but the 4th, December 4th. Those guys are going to be on. So I occasionally have the whammon on my show, but I don't give them White Claws and kick them up. All right. So what are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about, we were talking about Access Vegas and stuff like that. Guys, be sure to follow me on social media. The links are in the description for that. Get on the email list, guys, list.comeonmanpod.com. Not only do you get 20 dating app openers, not only do I mail you stickers, but you can now get a free chapter from my upcoming book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. It's the chapter on the 4 ways to meet women. The 4 ways to meet women. So definitely get on that. And speaking of the book, you can still get the Kindle edition of my book for only 99 cents at books.comeonmanpod.com. The paperback, the hardcover, and the special edition all drop on December 11th. And I've also got the Gumroad page set up for autographed copies. I'm going to make that live on December 11th as well. You guys are going to be able to get autographed copies. The autographed copies of the paperback and the special edition will be the same cost as Amazon. All right. So if you guys would rather have an autographed copy, same price, and the hardback version of the autographed copy is less expensive than Amazon because Amazon marks the hell up of their hardback edition. So if you want to get the hardback edition, get the autographed copy because it's going to be less expensive. Okay. So check that out, guys. And meanwhile, do me a solid. Do me a solid. Get the Kindle edition. It's only 99 cents. That actually helps boost us in the Amazon algorithm. That's what allowed me to be an Amazon #1 bestseller already. And guys, this isn't a Black Friday deal. This is an entire month of November deal. Get the Practical Law of Attraction course for 30% off with code THANKFUL2023. I've got it pinned at the top there of the chat on YouTube, but I'll drop it in the chat now while we play this commercial. Are you struggling to find a good quality woman? They are very rare indeed these days. If you spend any time at all watching content in the men's podcast space, or you spend time on dating apps or going out to clubs, you're seeing low quality, promiscuous women. You're finding women with daddy issues and personality disorders, or a myriad of other red flags, and you are frustrated. I get it, brother, but what if I were to tell you that the reason why you're only seeing these types of women is because of your mindset, because of your paradigm? We get what we focus on in life, and you have trained your mind to focus on the type of women that you don't want. So those are the types of women that keep showing up for you again and again. Let's change that mindset today. If you're a guy looking to attract high-quality, submissive women into your life, then I've got the perfect solution for you. And let me tell you, brother, it's all about mindset. That's right, you've got to reprogram your thinking to focus on the type of women you do want. That's where my Practical Law of Attraction course comes in. It's packed with proven psychology-based techniques that will help you manifest your dream woman. Trust me, you won't find this stuff anywhere else. Explained in such a simple, easy-to-use way. And let me tell you, when you start using these methods, you'll be amazed at how quickly things start changing for you. Picture this, you're out on the town, feeling confident and magnetic. All the women are drawn to you like moth to a flame. And best of all, you're attracting the type of women that are submissive and high quality. It's not that they weren't there before, it's that you weren't aware of them before. My course will teach you how to be more hyper aware of the kind of women that you actually want. It will teach you to believe that you're the most attractive man around. And when you believe it, you'll carry yourself that way. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for my course today. Visit loa.comeonmanpod.com. That's loa.comeonmanpod.com. Start living the life you've always dreamed of. Don't miss out on this opportunity to up your game and find the woman of your dreams. The law of attraction is nothing without action. So what are you waiting for? Act now. Act now, guys. Act now. Let me turn this off here. What am I even doing with my life? There we go. Oh, what does Sergio say? Women equal clicks. Yeah, God, dudes love tits, guys. Tits and curls. Tits and girls. One of the guys in my ship when I was in the Navy, he was saying that. He's like, man, guys see some tits, a smile, and some curls. He's talking about curly hair. He's like, they just get all Twitter painted. Yes, women equal clicks. No one cares what regular dudes think unless you're rich as fuck and can show it off and then show how you did it. LOL. Internet is all fake. Internet's all kayfabe. It's kayfabe. It's all pro wrestling, guys. Internet's not real. All right. So the next concept, guys, next concept in the book, right? The Science of Getting Rich is individual responsibility. Individuals are not held back by external factors, but by their own actions and mindset. Taking responsibility for one's choices and actions is critical for personal and financial success. He says factory workers, right? They're not stuck there by their bosses. They can leave anytime they want, right? If you're in a job you hate right now, you can literally quit. Okay, no one's holding you there. You're like, oh, well, I got bills to pay and stuff like that. Yeah, but no one's holding you there, right? No one's holding you there. I lay it out in my book that's coming up. I have a chapter called Anyone Could Be Rich, right? And it has nothing to do with the law of attraction, right? I have a whole chapter on how anyone could be rich, has nothing to do with the law of attraction. It's largely based on the Dave Ramsey method. And I break that down It's actually one of the more lengthier chapters. And I talk about how to get to a place where you don't need your job, right? You don't need your job. And it's all about developing an emergency fund, basically an FU fund, right? You save up till you have 6 months worth of savings. And then if you don't like your job, you can say, hey, F you, I quit. And you have money to float you until you get your next job. Okay. That's financial freedom. Talk about that in my book. And it's actually, anybody can do it. Literally anyone can do it. You'd be like, well, I will work paycheck to paycheck. Look, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Okay. There's a way to do it. I actually break it down in the book. Okay. Now, if you're sitting there, I can't. Well, that's your mindset. That's your mindset talking. Okay. You can, if you think you can, you think you can't, doesn't matter. You're right. You're right either way, right? If you think you can do it, you'll do it. Okay. It's mindset. It's up here. It's in your brain. So factory workers are not stuck there by their bosses. They can leave any time, right? You hear this a lot from people on the left. You know, not to get all political, but they complain about banks and rich people holding the man down, right? You hear this from certain ethnic groups like BLM, talk about how they're oppressed or whatever. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense, okay? Their own mindsets are keeping them where they are. All right? They could choose at any moment to do something else, but they choose to be victims. I had this conversation once, man, years ago. I was working at a factory. And there was this guy talking about, systemic racism or whatever, and how people they don't have any opportunities. I'm like, dude, I grew up as a poor white boy, I had the same. What I decided to do is I left for the military. Right? I left for the military so that I could get college money because I couldn't afford college. Like the guys in the ghetto hood can literally do the same thing. They have the same opportunity. They can, and in fact, there was a lot of guys in the Navy from like really bad neighborhoods that got in the military just to get out of those neighborhoods, like they literally have the same opportunity. Okay. But it's their mindset holding them back, telling them they can't. So they could choose at any moment to do something else, but they choose to be victims. MGTOW losers do the same thing. MGTOW losers and black pill doomers, you hear them pissing and moaning online about modern women and how all these modern women need to be held accountable, and it's all these women's fault that I can't be happy. Like, that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. You can choose to level up and get better with women, and how to use hypergamy to your advantage. It's possible. I teach it like every day on the damn podcast. Okay. But they choose to be victims. They want to be victims. You see, it's all up here. Now he says people can change their circumstances as soon as they start doing things in the certain way. The certain way. Spoiler alert, has to do with mindset and taking responsibility, taking accountability, right? Got to hold women accountable. No, hold yourself accountable. All right. Hold yourself accountable. Your date didn't work out well for you. What could you have done better? You understand? What could you have done better? He says the law of wealth is the same for everybody. The law of wealth is the same for everybody. Okay. That's the thing about capitalist societies, right? We all have the same opportunities. We don't have the same outcomes because not everybody takes advantage of the same opportunities. You see what I'm saying here? You go to a communist country where like all these, the left wingers like, oh, let's make it all socialist. Let's spread out the wealth. Let's make everybody, let's hand out the money to everybody. Then you have equal poverty, right? You have equal outcome. Everyone ends up poor. Okay. Except for the elites at the top of the food chain. Those guys are rich, right? Everyone else, the regular people, are living in poverty. So what would you rather have? What would you rather have? Right? Gotta think about that. All right, man. Last little bit of plugs, and then we'll really get into the meat here. Guys, join the beer club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. Now you get a free PDF copy of the Kindle edition of the book when you join. It's available for download as soon as you sign up, and it's only $10 a month. Good group of dudes. Next meetup I haven't announced yet, but it's probably going to be here in the first or second week of December. Probably the second week of December. And then we had a new sign up today. So, but it's a good group of dudes. Guys need this for our mental health, right? And then I also have one-on-one coaching available at gumroad.comeonmanpod.com. All right. So, Wattles says that we have inexhaustible riches. That's the next concept. We have inexhaustible riches. The idea that there is an abundance of riches in the world, both visible and invisible, is a foundational principle of this book. The universe is seen as a source of limitless resources, and individuals can tap into this abundance. Okay. And that's really a big thing here. A lot of guys think that there's not enough to go around. There's not enough to go around. That's not true. There's more than enough to go around, right? But not everybody wants the same things. And that's another thing you got to understand too. Not everybody wants the same thing. Not everyone wants to be a multi-billionaire. Sometimes they just want to be a millionaire, and that's okay for them. Sometimes they just want to make $70,000 a year and live comfortably in, a smaller house or whatever, live minimalistically. It's like people just want different things. Okay. So that's kind of a benefit. He says there's no shortness of the supply of riches. Palaces like the White House, he says, palaces like the White House could be built for every family on earth from the building material found in the United States alone. He says we could produce enough wool, cotton, linen, and silk to clothe everyone on earth if we wanted to. Okay. The visible supply of stuff is practically inexhaustible, and the invisible supply really is inexhaustible. Now, this is an interesting concept, right? Because I think a lot of people might be shocked to believe that they probably don't believe that, right? You hear stuff about fossil fuels. Oh, we're running out of fossil fuels. We're running out of oil. We're running out of oil. We're running out of coal, right? So we got to come up with sustainable energy and stuff. Well, he argues that if we think that we're out of it, we won't be. Like if we need more will be produced. That's what he argues. That's what he argues. Is that true or not? I don't know. That's what he says. Because he says that this is the next concept, formless substance and creative energy. That's the next concept, right? The concept of formless substance with intelligent and creative energy underlines the principles that life seeks to expand and express itself more fully. This energy is the driving force behind the constant creation of new forms. He asserts that everything is made of the same original substance. And it is, if you think about it, right? Scientists believe that the Big Bang happened. Everything, all matter existed at one point in a particle as big as the end of this pen here, right? And then exploded outwards, and that created literally everything. Created the stars, created the planets. All that matter right there existed at one point, right? Blew up outwards. That was the Big Bang theory. That's what scientists think now. And so if that's the case, literally everything is made out of the same substance. Everything made out of the same substance, okay? He says new forms are being made and others dissolving, but it's all the original substance, right? So you die, your body rots, goes into the ground, it goes back into the earth or whatever, and then something else is created with the same substance, right? We're all carbon-based life forms on this planet. Carbon at the end of the day, right? But if you think about it, what are we all made out of? Stardust. We're made out of cells, right? If you get down further, we're made out of atoms, and everything around you is made out of the same tiny particles and atoms as everything else, right? We got leptons, neutrons, and photons and stuff like that. We're all made out of the same shit. Hey, what's up, Mish? Good morning, brother. What time is it where you're at? Oh, I think you're like 12 hours. You're like 12 hours. So it's what, 8 p.m. there? Maybe it's good evening to you. Let's see here. If anything, it's harder to be white now. It's probably true. It's very frowned upon to be white, right? Oh, man. Okay. So there's no limit to the supply of the original substance because the entire universe is literally made out of the same shit. Okay. What am I drinking? I'm drinking woo energy. I got that Ric Flair drip, baby. That's what I'm drinking. Oh, 6:30 p.m. Okay. I was close. All right. So we're all made out of atoms and particles and stuff like that. There's no supply to the original substance because the entire universe is made out of it. The spaces in, through, and between the forms of the visible universe are permeated and filled with the original substance, the raw material of all things, according to him. And it's funny when you think about it this way. It's like sounds a lot like the Force from Star Wars, doesn't it? He says 10,000 times as much has been made, might still be made. That's what he says. Like there's no ending supply of resources. He says, even then, we won't run out of the raw supply of material. He's calling it a substance. They used to refer to this as the ether. Okay. They used to refer to this as the ether. I think back in the, I want to say 70s or 80s, scientists decided that saying things is made out of the ether is not scientific, right? So scientists don't like calling it the ether because it's, it was disproven or something like that, or wasn't proven, I should say. And but quantum science now believes it's more like an energy field that connects everything, right? They call it the quantum field. And a lot of the idea of the quantum field has been there's evidence for it, and they've done that with what the CERN project, the Large Hadron Collider. They're able to study this sort of thing, right? That's where that comes from. It's not pseudoscience bullshit, right? There really is a quantum field. Okay. Now, whether your thoughts can interact with that or not, I think that might be up for debate. But there really is a quantum field, and there is quantum science behind some of this stuff, right? Thank you so much for stopping by, at least to hit that like button. I appreciate that, man. And enjoy your gym workout. Hey, good morning, Brother John. Good morning to my people. All right. So, quantum field. Now, nobody is poor because there isn't enough to go around. There's way more enough to go around. It's an unlimited supply. The original substance is alive with creative energy and is always producing more forms, he says. Okay. And he says, what is this? Oh, when the soil is exhausted, new soil will be made. That's what happened during the Dust Bowl, right? I talked about the Dust Bowl because at the beginning of this chapter, he's talking about how you can leave the steel mill and go and become a farmer and make foodstuffs. Well, a lot of people did that in like the early 1900s. They all went off to go be farmers. My family did that. My mom's side of the family, they were farmers. And then there was the Great Dust Bowl of the 1930s, which, the soil was basically depleted, and, they had a major drought, and a lot of farms like went under during the drought. Right. And the soil was bad. This whole area out here where I live. So I live in Delta County, Colorado. And if you go out 10 minutes out this way, out towards Grand Junction, there's just all desolate land out there. Right. We call it the adobes. That all used to be farmland at one point. And I guess the soil was depleted out there. And now it's all like alkaline. And, it's just not very conducive. It's all just desert wasteland out there. But the other day, maybe a couple of months ago, a farmer bought up a big plot of it, right? Bought a big plot of this desert wasteland. And I was like, oh, it'd be good to see what this guy does with it, and he's growing shit out there. He tilled up the ground, started laying down new fertilizer and everything like that. He's growing, I think he's growing corn out there, maybe. I don't know. But he's definitely, it might just be grass. I think he might be a hay farmer, but he's growing stuff out there. So, if when the soil's exhausted, new soil will be made. That guy figured out how to do it. You know what I mean? When the gold and silver is all dug up, if we need more, we'll find more, he says. That's what I was saying about the oil, right? We think we're going to run out of oil. Well, according to Wattles, if we need more, we'll find more. It says the formless substance responds to the needs of man. Okay. And then the last concept here, actually, it's a concept in the whole book. It's not just in this chapter, but certain way of thinking and acting, right? Everything needs to be done in the certain way. Success is linked to a certain way of thinking and acting. Individuals are encouraged to adopt a mindset that aligns with the laws of abundance and creative energy, emphasizing positive and strategic thought patterns. So, largely, if you work with the laws of the universe, your riches will be created out of this formless substance. Is that how that works? I don't know. That's not what I teach in my practical law of attraction course. I don't, because that's kind of woo-woo magical thinking. Right? And a lot of people dismiss it because it just sounds so it sounds like fantasy, right? Whether it's true or not, I'm not going to say it isn't true, but a lot of people just have a hard time believing it. So I don't talk about that in my law of attraction course, because the way the law of attraction has always worked for me is that, I set a goal for myself and I focus on that goal and I believe that I've already achieved that goal. And then what ends up happening is I just get ideas. Like, I need to do this today. I need to look this up today. I need to study this. I need to learn this new thing. Maybe I should create a course, right? Whatever, right? Come up with ideas and then I act on it. When I get an idea, I act on it. And that tends to lead me towards my goal. You see what I'm saying? And like, it's not that it magically appeared out of, the ether or, the quantum field or whatever, or that formless substance formed and became, my book that I wrote. You know what I'm saying? But I got an idea. Hey, I need to write a book. And so I acted on that. You know what I mean? It's not like it formed out of nowhere, but that's how I teach it, right? It's all the psychology of it. And so I try to break it down into a practical concept as opposed to more of a spiritual concept, right? Or quantum theory type concept. But what he's talking about as far as like forming things out of the substance. If you go back the other day, I did a whole thing about, breaking down the quantum science of it. There is this thing called the observer effect, right? Where they've noticed that particles and stuff like that are doing, a myriad of things until someone focuses on it. And then it stops in that moment to be measured, right? But it's got infinite possibilities until someone focuses on it. Well, if a lot of particles did that all at once, then I mean, in theory, it could form. I don't know. I'm not saying it is, though. Okay. Also not saying it isn't. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's chapter 3. This book is a really short book, so therefore these episodes are probably not going to be the longest episodes ever. But it's a good book, and I think like if you read the whole thing, I think it's like 2 hours of your time or something like that. And it's really just a no BS book. It just really breaks down simple concepts, right? Keeps it down to the nuts and bolts for sure. So that's pretty much it. Guys, tune into Rule 0 tomorrow. I'm hosting. Since Ryan's book is coming out about dread, I think actually you can get, let me see if it's here. I think it's out. At least the Kindle edition's out. Let me see. I'll drop a link here in the chat. Because Ryan's first book in the Praxeology series is really good. Let's see here. Ryan Stone, Dread. Yeah. Okay, so it's still only the Kindle edition. But it's coming out, guys. Let me drop this in the chat here. Right? Praxeology Volume 2 Dread is dropping, and so I got my yellow background here, right? But I'm also hosting Rule 0 tomorrow, and what I thought we would do, since Ryan's book on Dread is coming out, is it would be good to talk about the effective and ineffective ways to implement Dread, right? And you guys have probably, if you guys have ever read Atomic Attraction by Christopher Canwell, I think a lot of his recommendations are ineffective. So I'm going to actually compile that list of Christopher Canwell's, and then also Royce. I did a whole episode on Royce's toxic dread ideas. We're going to compile those all into a list, and then we're going to have a discussion tomorrow on whether we think they're effective or not, and why or why not, right? And since Ryan's book's coming out, he's the expert on it. We'll pick his brain. And tune in Monday. My guest is Mark Singh. He's the host of the wildly popular Unapologetic Man podcast on Apple and Spotify. And he's a good dude. He uses NLP in his practice. And since I'm learning NLP, I wanted to pick his brain and see how that works, right? So we talk a lot about that on Monday. If you guys are curious about how that might work, definitely tune into that. We've got a $10 super chat from John for the woo-woo effect. Look, you got to have woo energy if we're going to talk about the woo-woo, right? For the woo-woo effects, you get this, man. Let's see here. Let's see here.
There is an epidemic of gold-digging whores in this country.
Yes, we've got an epidemic of gold-digging whores in this country. Yeah, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Yes. Ryan's, are you talking about Fuck Files or Frame? Because Frame is technically his second book, but yes, it's definitely a good book. Highly recommend it. Can't say that enough. Can't stop fluffing that Ryan Stone guy. All right, that's all I got, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving weekend, and don't go out and start any fights today on Black Friday, okay? The TV's not worth it. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Rule Zero.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.